Hello, everybody. Welcome to a post-practice report at the first day of Seahawks training camp for 2025. I'm Brian Nemhauser with you from Hawk Blogger Mornings, as well as Real Hawk Talk and all the other good stuff we bring on this channel. If you haven't already, click like and subscribe, and make sure you click the bell to get notified when I go live. You're going to want to do that right now because I don't always know exactly when I'm going to go live. I don't know exactly what the press conferences are going to end. This time of year, you want that bell clicked, and we got a lot to talk about. This a gorgeous, gorgeous day. I'm sitting here staring at the empty practice field, and the berm mostly is emptied out. There's still a few folks. I think you see Mike Macdonald over there still signing autographs for some fans that have stuck around. But for the most part, people have emptied out, and the first practice is in the books. And there was a lot that was noteworthy in this practice, especially for the first practice coming back. We'll start with a little bit of news that came out during practice, and we talked about it with Mike Macdonald at the end during his press conference. Jonathan Hankins was put on the NFI list, and Mike Macdonald said that it is just a back, nothing that he seemed too concerned about. I wouldn't be surprised with Jonathan Hankins, the veteran that he is, if they're like, Hank, take a little time. You know what you're doing. And if you're in shape and if we need you, you're there. I do have questions about whether when the 53-man roster gets set, whether Jonathan Hankins will be on it. And it's not because this team doesn't love him or the coaches don't believe in him. But of course, they'd like to get the young guys battling for that nose tackle position an opportunity to prove that they should take those reps. And today, we got to see Brandon Peely out on the field. We got to see Quentin Bohanna, Justin Rogers in his first time. I'll talk about some of what I observed from those guys in a bit, but this gives them all of the reps, and it gives the team and the coaches every chance to really evaluate where they are at the nose tackle position, because let's face it, they're not going to learn anything that they don't already know about Jonathan Hankins once he joins. Like if he was out there practicing or he's not. It really changes nothing about what they know about a player that's, played in this league a very, very long time. So that was one bit of news. The other, Shaquille Griffin did not practice today. Did not see him out there. He might have been out there, but I didn't notice him. And Mike Macdonald said yesterday they're just being careful. Something came up last night, and they're just being cautious. So doesn't sound like there's anything there. Uchenna Nwosu, we knew, was on the PUP, and he was asked by Brady Henderson. Mike Macdonald was asked by Brady Henderson at the end of practice, what's the deal with Uchenna? Do you expect him back soon? And Mike kind of gave two different answers. He started down the path of, don't know if it's going to be at the beginning of the season or not. Started down the path of, we're not going to really set a timeline, and then just ended up with, we're not close. Like, it's not something that's going to be the first few weeks of training camp. So that's news. That's news that it does appear that Uchenna Nwosu is a legitimate candidate to start the season on PUP, which would mean he would miss the first 4 games. If you caught my interview with Brady Henderson before camp earlier this morning, or really midday, he said, his understanding is the team's not worried about Uchenna Nwosu being available this year. It's more just about whether he'll be there at the start of the season. And so this does put edge as a position of, if not need, at least a position that makes some sense for the Seahawks to be doing some exploration to see who they might be able to add to the pile at that spot. And if they do, depending on who they do, we'll see what that means for that edge rotation and who does what. So that was interesting. That was a bit of news to hear there as well. Now, as far as practice goes and what I saw, I would say it was a relatively nondescript practice. There weren't a lot of guys that I would say stood out either offensively or defensively. It felt very much like the coaches wanted a controlled first day. Pace, tempo was not super fast. A lot of the team drill kind of stuff almost felt like it was at 3/4 speed as opposed to full speed. There was a few drills where they were going full tilt, but it definitely felt like more, kind of getting their legs under them, kind of getting reacclimated to moving, making contact with each other, cutting, all those things. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't say there was a star of practice. I wouldn't say there was the best play of practice. There wasn't something like that really stood out today. But what did stand out to me was that right guard spot that had Christian Haynes and Anthony Bradford really rotating and looking like they were battling during OTAs and minicamp. I think it's officially got at least a third player in that mix. Jalen Sundell definitely got a fair number of snaps at right guard today. And I asked Coach Macdonald about Jalen Sundell in his post-practice press conference, and he said Jalen Sundell won their off-season conditioning award. I don't know. He didn't go into the details. There's all these different metrics that they track to assess who is the winner of that award. And he said Jalen Sundell won it. He said Jalen Sundell just keeps stacking good days. I think they're excited about Jalen Sundell. And I got to tell you, I'm excited about Jalen Sundell. He's a little bit undersized for a guard. And I was talking about this with Dave Bowling on the sideline. He was like, I don't know if he's big enough. And I'm like, well, this is a wide zone team. And if you've heard, John Benton has not done his first press conference as a coach for the Seahawks, but I have heard his press conference when he was a coach for the Saints. And one of the things that he said was, you can't bully a player off the ball snap after snap in the NFL. That just is not something that's reliable to do. In this offense, in this scheme, what we care about, we being John Benton, is running off the ball and beating a player to a spot to create an angle. And even in the post-practice press conference, Mike Macdonald was asked by Mike Dugar, what are you looking forward to most about this offense? And he said, getting off the rock. And I'm smiling because there's a great picture right now of Mike Macdonald carrying Jack with his wife, Steph, who's being dragged by their big dog. And that's cool. It's cool to see the family out here in Seattle. And nice to see Mike Macdonald's the last person walking off the practice field. So let's get back to it. So yeah, I think if running off the rock, if getting to a spot is the key to this offensive line performing, Jalen Sundell is one of the best athletes on the roster. This is a guy that played backup tackle last year. That's not something you do at the NFL level when you've been an interior offensive lineman in college, unless you're an excellent athlete. He has been in the center competition with Olu Oluwatimi. I think one of the things that might be happening as well is maybe Olu is solidifying his hold on that starting center spot, which might mean that they're trying to figure out if Jalen Sundell belongs somewhere else. And it would be interesting. I honestly have not considered Jalen Sundell as a challenger for the starting right guard spot until today. So that to me was probably one of the biggest bits of observation that I had in this practice. That could be that he has really stood out. It could be that Christian Haynes and Anthony Bradford really have not. It could be a combination of the two. So we will find out. We'll find out what happens as things progress. There was also some good news, I think good news, but interesting news with Mike Macdonald after in his press conference, where he said they're hoping to get this basically into next week, where they're figuring out players on the line at which positions and then kind of lock it down. So this isn't going to be a protracted battle for who's going to start. They're going to, over this week, they're going to figure out who they want to be their starting right guard. And based on what I saw today, Jalen Sundell is as good of a bet as anybody else to win that role. So I think that's pretty big news. Torrey Horton, his first practice as a Seahawk. It was great to see him out there, number 15. Mike Macdonald mentioned that they've got a plan for him. They're not having him at full go, but I saw him running routes. I saw him running out there. He looks fast. He looks quick. He did fine today. I wouldn't say there was anything. I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to be the next great receiver. He does look like he's got something to add to this group. He's certainly a different type of receiver than a Jake Bobo or a Cody White or some of the other guys that they've got. from what I could tell, he's kind of playing the JSN role as far as where they've initially got him slotted. So people that think like he's going to be an X receiver and he and MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, are going to be in competition. I don't think initially that's how they're thinking he'll be used. I don't think his body type necessarily makes sense as an X. I think he's much more of a flanker. And honestly, the biggest thing with Torrey Horton today was just that he was out there. And he's certainly getting plenty of reps and he looks good. I wouldn't say I was bowled over. I wouldn't say I was disappointed. It was just like, all right, he looks like he's out there. He's doing his thing. And that's good. Other things, let me take a quick look at my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting some stuff. So Brady Russell is a guy that was kind of in a competition for the fullback spot with Robbie Oots. And one of the things I was curious about heading into this practice, being the first practice since Noah Fant was released, was whether or not Brady Russell was still going to be in that fullback competition. And from what I saw, I think they're going to utilize him more as tight end now than at fullback. But the fact of the matter is he can do all of those things. He's more of a classic H-back than like a Robbie Oots is. I think Robbie Oots is not doing tight end drills. Brady Russell is. And I think they see his potential. And I will tell you, look, I was a big Brady Russell proponent last training camp. He didn't do a lot during the season. So take this all with a huge grain of salt. I still think that guy has a chance to be a productive member of this team as a tight end. He runs away from people on a regular basis. He is a fast player. He is a sudden player. He's a good athlete. I just think there's something there. I've been wrong before. I was wrong, I guess, depending on your perspective, I was wrong on him being a part of this offense last year. But I like what he brings to the table, and I think that he's a guy that should be on this roster. I think he belongs on this roster. I think the team's better with him on this roster. So the fact that he was getting more tight ends reps was also something that stood out to me. Cody White's got a huge opportunity in front of him at the X receiver spot. He had some max effort plays today, full stretch diving attempts at catches. He had one in the red zone that was just a gorgeous catch. I mean, full extension. He caught it. He was just out of bounds. One of his feet touched the end line of the corner of the end zone. So disappointing for him, but it was great. Wasn't like there weren't a lot of big plays that I can point to where he made an impression, but he certainly put in a lot of effort in there. I thought Sam Darnold looked better today. I liked what I saw from Sam Darnold today, even in something as small as early no defense drills against air, timing routes, outbreaking routes. He just threw a much better ball today. He seemed on time. I wouldn't be surprised if the time that he spent with some of the receivers down in California, throwing on his own with those guys, helped create some more anticipation and rhythm with the kinds of throws they're going to be doing in this offense. He didn't have some like kick-ass day where he was just destroying the defense, but it was a much more representative day of a starting quarterback in the NFL than what we saw very early in OTAs and minicamp. So I thought it was a better day for Sam Darnold. He seemed more accurate. He seemed more on time. Jalen Milroe was fine today. Nothing that I would say stood out. I will say that little things show up for me where I see him going through progressions, which is something that a lot of young quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks that have his foot talent, his athleticism, that know that if something breaks down, they can take off and make a big play. A lot of them aren't necessarily naturally going to excel at going through progressions. And the fact that I still am seeing him go from 1 to 2 and then hit a third receiver. That's good. That's good news this early in his development, because he's always going to have the ability to break out and run. Like, that's not going to go away. But if he can add to that, to have this progression and this ability to threaten the defense with his arm and with his mind, it's only going to make his running weapon that much more lethal. So, little things. I wouldn't say he did anything spectacular, but those are things that I noticed when I'm watching practice. JSN had a couple nice catches today, a contested catch today. I think that's of note. JSN did not do well in contested catches last year. One of the first plays of this camp was a deep ball down the left sideline. I think it was Josh Jobe in very tight coverage, and he made the catch. So I think that was good. He also made another contested catch later along the sideline going up against Reek Woolen. So good to see that from JSN. The other bit of news I would say is Kenneth Walker, full go. And man, that guy just moves. He scoots. And I understand that there's this kind of odd battle within Seahawks fan base around Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, or some people are Kenny McIntosh people, whatever. Like, I don't personally much care who gets the reps. I just want the best player out there, the most productive player out there. And you cannot watch these guys move and not understand that Kenneth Walker is a completely different type of athlete than the other guys at that position. It's not up for debate. He moves differently. He is considerably more explosive. And the question's been health. It's also been whether he can stick within the framework of an offense, those kinds of things. But he was scooting out there today, and having him back out there, as far as I'm concerned, he's the biggest threat on that offense. I don't think it's much of a question. I think he's a bigger threat than JSN. I think he's a bigger threat than any of the tight ends. I think he's the biggest threat on that offense. The other thing I would say from a tight end perspective is that Elijah Arroyo, was getting his reps, as was AJ Barner, Eric Saubert, all those guys getting their reps. Elijah Arroyo had some nice catches today, a sliding catch. One, he tipped up to himself and caught it on the ground. He's doing well. So, nothing spectacular. Again, like I said, this wasn't a practice of superlatives, but Elijah Arroyo, showed up today and made some plays, which is good in his very first practice as kind of what looks to be potentially a starter. I got my first chance to watch Isis Waxter, the undrafted free agent cornerback out of Villanova, almost 6'2", over 200 pounds, number 36. Didn't get challenged necessarily, but I was just watching him in some reps and seeing how he held up. I thought he mirrored really well. I thought his change of direction was interesting for a guy that big. I'm bullish. So I was already curious about him heading into this. Isis Waxter continues to be a guy that I'm going to keep a close eye on because I think there's something there. I talked to Mike Macdonald about Jared Ivey, the undrafted free agent out of, I believe, Ole Miss. I might be wrong, but that's where I believe he's from. Anyway, and I'm trying to figure out what exactly the role is that they see for him. And Mike Macdonald kind of confirmed they're trying to figure that out as well. They have a big end position. I think it's kind of what DeMarcus Lawrence is going to play. I think that's where Jared Ivey fits best. But, he's a guy that they're interested in, and they're interested in kind of figuring out how best to utilize him. So he remains a guy that I think has an outside chance of being on the roster. Check in to see if there's any super chats. Nothing so far. If there are, I'll try to get to those before I close up shop here and bike home. Other things, a lot of check downs, a lot of swing passes to running backs. And on one hand, you can look at that and say, ugh, that's not exactly a way to be a productive NFL offense. On the other hand, it's nice to see, your starting quarterback comfortable going through his projections and progressions, let's say that again, and taking what's available. I would like to see Sam Darnold threaten the defense a little bit more downfield and over the middle and for more chunk plays. But this is day one. So I'm not gonna kill him for that. For all we know, this was exactly what they were working on today. They have specific things each practice that they're coming out trying to accomplish. So, if I had to choose between Sam Darnold forcing the ball into coverage and taking checkdowns, I'll take the checkdowns all day long. But a key question that remains unanswered for this offense is, can they create explosive plays through the air? And I'm not sure they can yet. That's my honest answer. I'm not sure how good they're going to be at creating explosive plays. I could do a show another time just about how big of a deal that is. You can look up the stats of NFL drives that include a play of 15 yards or more, and NFL drives that do not include a drive of 15 yards or more, or a play of 15 yards or more in it. The amount of points scored in those two different splits it's a stark contrast. So a huge part is very hard in the NFL to just run play after play and get 4 or 5, 6 yards and go all the way down the field without getting penalties, without turning the ball over. You need chunk plays. That is the biggest question for this Seahawks offense. I don't know if we're going to get that answer until the regular season, to be honest. So I would like to see some more examples of it in practice. Not seeing a lot of it so far. But again, day one, and we will continue to monitor as we go along. Let's see. Anything else that was on my list? I will offer that Jalen Gaines, undrafted free agent edge rusher, had a nice rush at one point. Would have been a sack off the right side. I think that Derek Hall had another would have been sack, had some nice plays. DeMarcus Lawrence, he just, if it's a run play, DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be in the backfield. That's kind of how it goes. And I think that, like, there must have been multiple plays I saw that, but he kind of tormented Josh Jones, the free agent swing tackle that they signed. He was by him in the backfield on a number of running plays. And DeMarcus Lawrence is just a guy that Mike Macdonald was effusive about in his post-practice press conference. So good practice for him. Otherwise, I don't know if there's much that I can add beyond that. I think those are the highlights. And I see someone asking about Abe Lucas. Abe Lucas looked great. He was out there. He's moving, did all the stuff. Nothing of note there. Ernest Jones was out there. He was doing his thing. I mean, pretty much everybody but the folks I mentioned at the start were out there today, which is good news. And we'll see probably a few more days before pads come on, and we'll get to learn a little bit more about these guys. I will be back tomorrow, and I should hopefully have a player interview before practice. So probably around 11:45 a.m. tomorrow, roughly around then. We will see. I will have post-practice report that'll probably come a little bit later tomorrow. We'll see. I have to, all the logistics, I will just tell you folks, not that you care, but just so you know why the times are going to be weird. You know, I've got, child duties. My wife's got work. We've got to figure out the handoff of all these things. So some days I will do reports here. A lot of days I will bike home first and then do reports at home. So we'll figure it all out, but I will give you as much information as I can each and every day as training camp kind of continues to unfold. But great first day. Great that everyone, like, so many guys were here healthy. So many guys exited practice healthy, and we just get to see this team compete starting today and on through the next few weeks before, my God, the 2025 Seahawks, the 50th season of the Seahawks begins. Not so far from today. All right. I think that will do it. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure if you haven't clicked like and subscribe and the bell to get notified, do that right now. Go over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. Get ad-free audio of this show every day, and also gets you access to the Discord channel, as well as verified over at hbtix.com, place where you can go to get Seahawks tickets from Seahawks fans, or you can make sure that you're selling your Seahawks tickets to Seahawks fans. Make sure you spread the word about it. We got to get as many people that are Seahawks fans on hbtix.com so that we can protect the Seahawks home field advantage as best we can. I don't charge any fees. I don't make any money from that venture. In fact, it costs me money. I'm losing money on it. I just want to give people a place that they can go to sell tickets from Seahawks fans to Seahawks fans, and make sure that we have as many people wearing the right jerseys at Lumen Field. All right. With that, appreciate all of you. Take care. I am Brian Emhauser. This has been your post-training camp practice report. See you soon.